Welcome back to the third episode of the JMP podcast. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, starting with the crazy timing of my heater. Well, let me explain. So 10 years ago, the heater went out and it was really, really cold that year. So -20, -26 degrees Fahrenheit. Really cold. And the heater went out and we had to get it fixed, but it was several weeks until it got fixed. And because it was so cold, the house got really, really cold. Well, anyway, 10 years later, different house, different situation, all that stuff. The heater went out again on the same exact day. 10 years to the day the heater went out. Now, we thought originally that it's only for the downstairs. It's not going to get really that cold. Well, it did. It got down to 55 degrees within about the first half day, and it's only going to go down from there. So anyway, because it was so cold and because we work down here all the time, this is the studio space, that's not really going to work. So, just like we did 10 years earlier, we got some space heaters, and we just kind of live where the space heaters are. So if I'm in the studio has the space heater. If I move somewhere else, it comes with me. Anyway, that's kind of how it all worked out. Isn't that crazy? 10 years ago to the day the heaters went out. Now, hopefully this doesn't happen again 10 years from now, right? Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about a video that I put out, I think it was on Monday. Anyway, in this video, and I've made other videos like it, I asked for subscribers. So it's like, hey, I want to get to this goal by, the end of the week or the end of the month, and I need your help to do that. Anyway, I made another one of those videos, and I just want to explain the story behind those videos so you understand, so you're not just like, hey, he's just asking for subscribers all the time. Anyway, so it started out, I think, when I first started creating shorts, and I noticed that I was getting a lot of subscribers and a lot of views from them. Now, the thing about shorts is it's a completely kind of different situation. So if I make a whole video that's maybe 8 minutes long, 10 minutes long, that video might get maybe 100 views, maybe up to 1,000 views. Shorts are kind of different. YouTube kind of pushes out a short. If it thinks it's good enough, it'll push it out to about 2,000 people. So no matter how the video is really made, it'll get that much reach. Unlike normal videos, which will probably have a guaranteed 10 to 20 views, but that's not a whole lot when you spend a ton of time on a video. Anyway, shorts get about 1,000, maybe 2,000 usually on average, no matter how the video is filmed, as long as it's good content. So I noticed that, and I was, several months ago, it was kind of like, this is super reliable. So I wanted to see, like, how many subscribers would I gain if I just said, hey, this is the challenge. I want to get to this deadline, which was true. I wanted to double the amount of subscribers every single month, months ago. And I was like, hey, I want to see if this works. So I made a video, it's just, I really need your help. I want to get to this many subscribers. And the video did really well. It got its normal 2,000 views, but I gained like 100-something subscribers from it. It was awesome. And I was like, this is totally working. So I wanted to do more. But the thing about that is, if you just make like 10 videos in a row, say, hey, I need your help. We have a goal. I mean, who's going to want to watch that, right? You're going to drive away people. So I just continued to make content, and I was thinking about that. And later on, because it did really well, and I got a bunch of new people, and they're like, hey, your channel's awesome. Anyway, later, like a month later, we were almost to our goal, but not quite. So I was like, hey, let's do this again. Let's see how it performs. And we hit the goal because I made that video. Because I want to have steady growth on the channel, As crazy as it might sound, these videos have been the highest source of subscribers of the entire channel. I think about half of the subscribers on the channel have come from a video like that, which is kind of crazy if you're thinking about it. Now, again, like I've said earlier, you don't want to do this too much, otherwise people get like, you're just making the same video again. And I had a couple people like that. But the thing is, when you're producing content every single day, it's okay to slip in a video like that every month or every, 2 weeks or something just to hit those goals. Anyway, it has been a while since I made one of those videos, and I did it on Monday of this week. I'm filming this on Tuesday. Sunday night. I'm filming this on Tuesday, and it'll be published on Wednesday, so wish me luck in the edit in the very short amount of time I have. Anyway, I made the content, I made the video, and unlike normal videos, it performed really well, and we gained a whole 100-something subscribers from that, which is awesome, and moves us closer to our goal of hitting 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Now, this is kind of a crazy goal that I have. We're probably not going to get there, but I really, really want to. So if you haven't already, I know, just like the other videos, would you consider subscribing and maybe sharing this podcast or sharing the videos? And that would help out a lot. I really want to have this YouTube channel be a success, and the more people know about it, the more people that are subscribed and watch the videos, the more chance it has of being a success. Anyway, that video did awesome, and if you're a YouTuber in another situation, like maybe like this, and you're just like, I really want to hit this goal, maybe consider doing a video like that. Not a ton, don't do too much, but maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, make a video like, and be super enthusiastic about it. Make a video like that, just super short. And the thing is with that type of video, if you get a ton of subscriptions from it, maybe 80, maybe 100 subscriptions, YouTube will push it out a little bit more. Like, people are subscribing at an abnormal rate. Well, that's because the whole video's on it. But anyway, that's a little story about maybe behind that type of video and why I'm making it. It does really, really well, and it brings a lot of new people. And some of the people that maybe you have come on a video like that and you still are here because you enjoy the content. Anyway, that's just the whole thing about those videos and why I make them. It just brings people in. So let's move on to something else. I've talked about the heater. I've talked about that video. Let's talk about an upcoming video. Now, this podcast is coming out on Wednesday, and I'm going to probably be filming this on Thursday, so there's not a ton of time for feedback. But I'm going to be making some more tutorials for the Canon cameras I have, because I've received a lot of requests for that. So if you have any requests that you'd like to see a tutorial for, let me know in the comment section down below, because I'm going to be making several tutorials on them. I have a plan for this week's tutorial, I believe, so maybe in a future tutorial or something, but just let me know what you want tutorials for the Canon R7, Canon R8, because I want to make some more content around that, because I've got a ton of feedback from you guys asking for it. Anyway, let's move on to some questions from this week. Okay, let's start off with our first comment. It's super long, so I'm going to just paraphrase it. And the comment is basically asking, why would anyone ever buy a Canon EFS lens when something like the 18-35 is out there from Sigma? And they're saying that why doesn't Canon just allow other brands to make RF lenses? Okay, let's start off with the RF issue. Canon is allowing other brands to make RF lenses for their cameras. It's just took them a little while to get to that point, and not a ton of companies have those lenses available right now. They are coming from a lot of different manufacturers, but they have to be approved from Canon for the systems, and it's kind of complicated. Anyway, RF lenses are coming from maybe Sigma, Tamron, those companies. They're not here yet. And as far as someone buying an RFS lens, they're saying in the comment, they're saying that no one in their right mind would ever do that. The nice thing about RFS lenses for the crop sensor cameras like the R7, maybe the R10 or R50, they're easy and they come with a camera. So if you're just a basic photographer, you just want to I want a camera, I want to get nice photos, you don't know a ton about lens mounts and all the things that go along with that, and you're just like, I want to get a camera, a kit lens is totally fine. RFS lens is totally fine. You don't need L glass. You don't need, you don't want an adapter with third-party glass if you just want a simple solution that works well. Okay, so that's why those options exist. There's a lot of people with Canon T7s, Canon T8Is, all those cameras that just want to be like, I just want a camera to capture my kids or whatever, and kit lenses, cheap RFS lenses, they work great for those scenarios. Now, there are a lot of photographers that start out with a cheaper Canon T-series with those cheaper kit lenses, and they move on from that, which they can totally upgrade because lenses usually are compatible. So especially if you buy full frame glass from EF or RF, you can just move that right along. It is difficult for moving from crop sensor to full frame, because if you have a ton of crop sensor glass, actually I was talking to someone about this earlier, because if you have crop sensor glass with a full frame camera, it just crops in on the sensor, and nobody wants that. But the reason all this stuff exists is to give options, and obviously people are buying it and using it if they're selling it. If no one buys a lens, it won't be made. It's supply and demand, and there are a lot of lenses, cheaper lenses, RFS lenses, that people want to get because they're cheap. Not everyone wants to spend $2,000 on a lens or even $500 on a lens, and those cheaper lenses are there. And again, other brands will offer RF lenses in the future. It just will take a little bit of time. So for the pros out there you go. And for the consumers, the people that just want a basic camera, there's options for you. Let's move on to the next question. Again, this question's a little long, so I'm going to paraphrase it. Anyway, they're asking about getting rid of the wobbling issues on the R7 with their super wide lenses. Okay, here's the thing about the wobbling issues. Because it's physically moving the sensor around in different directions, it's changing where it is on the glass, so it's wobbling. And there are a couple ways to address this. Either you turn stabilization off so the sensor doesn't move around anymore, or you zoom the lens slightly in. So for their example, they have a 15mm to 30mm, as well as a 16mm, and I found if you just zoom it in slightly on that, maybe 15 to 30mm, to maybe 20mm or 24mm, it gets a lot better. At 30mm plus, so 30mm, 50mm, wobbling basically gets completely gone and is just good stabilization. But at those super wide focal ranges, you're going to have wobbling issues with the Canon cameras because because it's a physical thing that happens when you move the sensor around. I wish you could just turn on lens stabilization or just digital IS, but always remember, if you turn off all your stabilization, you can stabilize it afterwards. And if you're doing that, make sure to increase your shutter speed, because if you do too much stabilization with a slower shutter, you can have this weird motion blur thing that happens where it's like things aren't moving, but they've got motion blur. It's kind of weird. Anyway, and if you're also wide enough, 15 millimeters, 16 millimeters, you don't really need stabilization if you're vlogging or something like that, because it's just so wide. The wider the lens is, the less stabilization you need for it to look decent, and the more zoomed in it is, the more stabilization you need. And the stabilization with the cameras works better in those different scenarios. So personally, if I'm noticing a ton of wobbling and I don't need the stabilization because it's super wide, I just turn it off. The next comment is from last week's episode, when I talked about the whole Adobe issue, which if you haven't seen it, go watch it. My experience with Adobe, kind of crazy. Anyway, their comment is saying DaVinci is just better. Just saying, I completely agree, and that is why I use it. I really wanted to use Premiere because a lot of people said Premiere was good, and remember, this was several years ago before DaVinci really got popular. Yes, DaVinci is far better than Premiere, and that's why I use it. It's also free, so if you're looking for a free editing software, just go with DaVinci. Everyone's moving to it. It's the way to go. Premiere crashes. Final Cut's its own unique thing. Anyway, DaVinci is an awesome software. Highly recommend it. I've used it for like over 1,000 videos. It's awesome. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I might send you a tutorial I've already made. I might make a new tutorial. I'll at least answer your question. Anyway, DaVinci's awesome. Highly recommend it. This person is too. It's the way to go. Okay, let's move on to the next question. The next comment is coming from a video where I compared the Canon R7 to the R8, basically how fast the mechanical shutter is. So 6 frames a second versus 15 frames a second. And they're basically saying that no one ever needs those kinds of frame rates because you can just shoot the photo once and you'll be good. Here's the thing. If you're in a fast-paced environment like sports, wildlife, or if you just want to get the perfect shot, it's always nice to have those high frame rate options. That's why it exists. That's why the new A7 IV that came out recently has that 120 frames a second option, just so you get the perfect photo. And there's been plenty of scenarios where I turn it on, those high frame rate options, like maybe 15, maybe 30, maybe even 40 frames a second on the R8, and I just, I take 3,000 photos in one sitting. But I'm able to go back later and say, this is the exact photo and the exact timing that I wanted, and where, maybe the football is perfectly in the air at the perfect time, or the baseball bat's perfectly right. And you just can't get that just taking 1 or 2 photos, just like timing it perfectly. That's why those settings exist. If you're a photographer that doesn't need high frame rates, you can just disable it. But it's a great feature to anyone wanting those higher frame rates. And if you're just trying to take as many photos as possible, well, you can just let the shutter go, I guess. Maybe if you want to fill up an SD card fully for a test, for a video, it's a lot easier to just let the camera take thousands of photos than to press it one at a time. I think that's going to be it for today's video. If you have any further comments we can answer in a future episode, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll give you an answer by text, and if I think it's awesome to throw on the podcast, I'll do that as well. I always answer every comment. And if you want to help support the channel, there's a bunch of things you can do. You can subscribe, you can like, you can share. You can also use the affiliate links in the description down below. And if you want to help out even more, you can become a Patreon supporter or a channel member. But before you go, there's one more thing I want to tell you about, and that is our sponsor, Motion Array. If you're a content creator like myself and want to level up your video production, check out Motion Array. With pre-made transitions, templates, audio effects, and even plugins, Motion Array has everything you need to make your videos look better. To get $50 off your annual subscription, check out the link below. Thanks to Motion Array for sponsoring the channel, and back to the video. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the 3rd podcast. If you're in the audio version of the podcast, please consider adding this to your library, leaving a comment, or rating this podcast. If you're on the video version on YouTube, maybe like, subscribe, and do that other stuff that I talked about earlier if you want to help out. That's going to be it for today's video, and I'll see you in the next video.